Hey everybody, Chris with Plays with Water here. I hope everybody's safe and staying home if you can. If you're an essential worker, I thank you for going to work every day and doing what you got to do. I really appreciate it. We recently hit 400 followers on Facebook, which is incredible. We're starting to get some people subscribing to us on YouTube, so we figured this would be a great opportunity to celebrate a little bit and give you a proper fish room tour down here in my basement. So let's stop looking at me and look at some tanks. So we're going to start at the entrance of the basement. And the first thing you see is the 45-gallon cube. We recently just did a major maintenance video on this where we trimmed back all the plants in the back, cleaned up a few the guys up front, the cryptocoryne and the melon swords here. Water is nice and crystal clear. The fish are happy and frolicking and eating and all that fish stuff. There's one of the bamboo shrimp there. Autosynclus catfish there. A couple ember tetras. Celestial pearl danios. White cloud minnows. Harlequin rose beras. Dwarf neon rainbow. I'm really liking this tank, but I think it's coming time to do a full rescape on it. But we're probably going to wait until this pandemic passes and things get back to normal a little bit. So we're going to give these guys some bloodworms as a treat. I use the shot glass just to defrost some bloodworms for everybody, or any other frozen foods that I'm giving. I don't think that was enough bloodworm. There's the peacock gudgeon in the back, trying to entice him out. He's been a little camera shy lately. Maybe he's lonely. Maybe we'll try to get him a girlfriend soon. I would like to get some more fish for this tank. It is a little understocked, which isn't a bad thing, but I would just like to have a little bit more going on in there. You guys have any suggestions, let me know. Maybe try to get a couple more dwarf rainbows. Not the most glamorous shot as he's making boom boom right now. I would like a couple more glass catfish, but that's another fish in my area that's kind of hit or miss finding them. Gobbling up a bloodworm there. I know you're supposed to have them in schools of at least 5 or 6. But it's a pretty low energy tank, so he seems to be doing fine, or it could be a she. I'm not really sure how to sex them. But they're really cool looking fish. He pretty much just hides out in the vegetation most of the time. But he does come out and play with the other fish. And we'll throw a couple bloodworms in the back there for the peacock. He doesn't... being camera shy today. Oh well, we'll move on. Here's the Walstad column. This is the 15-gallon Aquarium kit. There's my unnamed Betta. I just can't come up with a proper name that I like for him. I don't know, what do you guys think? But this tank is doing well. Just like most dirted tanks, they tend to be very stable. The plants are doing great. The algae is starting to go away. I've shortened the amount of time that the lights are on, and been doing some more frequent water changes on this tank. That seems to be doing the trick for us. But I just love how this one's growing in. It just always looks so nice and clean. Next, we got Clementine and her new bioactive setup. We just did a video on this earlier this week. The plants are already growing. I wish all my plants grew this quick. She hasn't eaten them or anything yet. She's trampled them, and that hasn't seemed to bother them at all, so that's good. They can take the beating from her climbing all over them. But she's looking good in here. She's dug herself a nice burrow back there. The substrate that we mixed up is doing much better than I thought it would already. See if we can get a shot of this. This is what we're aiming for in here. See how we got this dry layer up top? And then this darker layer, it's moist. It's got some moisture in there. And this line goes all the way across, at least the front of the tank. I obviously can't see the lines on the other sides because they're painted. But that's exactly what we're going for. So that's working out great. She seems a little unamused with us right now. So that's Clementine's tank. You got something to say? No? Alright. Moving on. Now this is a tank we really haven't done a video on. It is in our intro. This is essentially just a grow out tank for my... there's two frontoses in there. There's one. There's the other one kind of hiding. These guys are a little camera shy. This tank pretty much just gets its water changes and regular maintenance. I will be upgrading them soon. I just got to make room. I have a spare 75-gallon tank in the garage that they're going to be going into. This is my little blue moray dolphin. Now, when I bought him, I opened up the bag and his jaw was completely dislocated off to the side. I don't know if it was from netting or what. But he was swimming around fine. He was eating right off the bat, so I kept him. You can kind of see... Let's see if we can get a shot of his mouth. The lower jaw is off to the side. Yes, see, there you go. But it's healed up. He eats fine. Starting to show some nice colors already. Now, blue moray dolphins, if you're not familiar with this type of African cichlid, they're very slow growers. And when they grow up, their lips become white, and they almost have that dolphin snout on them, hence the name. But he's just hanging out with the frontosas. Yeah, I really can't wait to get these guys in a bigger tank. They need it now. The two frontosas kind of bully on each other, so they need a little more room. Let's give them some food. Try not to freak them out in the process. They're not quite as used to me as the big boys in the 125. I walk up to the 125, they all come running to the glass to get fed. I guess you guys aren't as hungry as I thought. they're just so beautiful. Unfortunately, these guys would not do well with my other cichlids, even when they do get bigger. They're from a different Rift Lake in Africa. If I remember right, the Frontosas are Victorians, and everybody in the 125 are Malawi cichlids. Similar water parameters, but different diet and whatnot. A little different temperament. Alright, we'll move on from these guys. We freaked them out enough. And here's the mossy tree frog vivarium. Doing well. The mosses I put in there from the yard are looking great. Don't worry, I did quarantine them for about a month before adding them into this setup. But they're finally acclimating to this environment. There's one of the frogs. The other one just saw it darting around down in there. They actually spend a lot of time in the water. I'm glad I did my research on these guys to find out that they are semi-aquatic. Because they certainly don't look like they're semi-aquatic. Been misting this setup about twice a day. Plants are growing in nice. But something about it, I just don't like how it's turning out. I think I'm going to rescape this tank. I think I can do better. Move on to the nanos. Here's the Walstad bowl. Maybe a $10 investment, if that. And it's turning out to be one of my more popular setups. And it really is just an awesome, awesome little tank here. The colors are great. The maintenance is little to nothing on this. Great colors. The mermaid weed in the back there is starting to reach towards the surface. I don't know if I'm going to trim it or see if maybe it'll grow immersed. Haven't really had good luck with plants growing immersed. I don't know if because it's kind of dry down here or whatever the case is, but we'll see. This was initially set up as an experiment to see if I could do it, and it's been a great success. Here's the roots for the dwarf hairgrass. This little bowl has been a lot of fun. I really recommend everybody giving this a shot. We do have a video on how I did it. And maybe down the road we'll do another one. Then I can show you how I did it and not just talk about how I did it. Alright, next we have the Nano Reef tank. Let me pop the filter on real quick so you guys can see what you're looking at. There we go. Still battling algae a little bit, going through the ugly phase of the saltwater setup, but it is clearing up. Between scrubbing the rocks and changing the water, stirring up the substrate, the algae is going away. I also have an Astrea snail in there that's doing a great job. Probably working harder at it than I am. Here's the Duncan coral. see if I can get a shot of it, but it is sprouting a third head up top. It's kind of, there's a nub to the right of the main head in the center, and that's new. So that's always good to see. So I must be doing something right. There's our 2 mushrooms. I really like these mushroom corals. I'm going to try to get my hand on a couple different color ones and whatnot. The zoanthus are doing good. There's my eagle eye zoas. There's a whole bunch of algae with the eagle eye zoas. Not sure what kind of zoanthid this is. If anybody knows, please let me know. But that has a few new heads since I've purchased it. And there's the jack-o'-lantern leptocerus. And that one's been growing too, so it's an ongoing learning experience. I'm really enjoying it. Nothing crazy. I don't have thousands of dollars of equipment on it, but for something this simple, you really don't need it. Alright, so here's another setup I haven't really spotlighted yet. It's my converted over aquarium to terrarium. Just a 20-gallon long fish tank that I flipped up on its side and used plexiglass to make a front for it. Let's open it up so you can see in there a little better. Now, I don't have any real inhabitants in here other than the cleanup crew making it bioactive. There's springtails and some other isopods scurrying around in there. This is actually some of the soil we used to seed the bearded dragon setup to make that bioactive. But the plants are finally starting to stabilize and grow. The mosses are doing awesome. These were also collected from the yard. There's my creeping fig. When I initially planted this, it withered down to a nub. I thought it was completely gone. Then all of a sudden it decided, I'm going to come back. And it's growing really well. Starting to really explore in there. My salvinia plant is also growing quite a bit, which is good. That's a really neat looking plant. But there isn't any real inhabitant in here yet. I'm not really sure what to house in here, or if I'm really even going to house anything. Not sure yet. But no rush on this one. You can just let it grow and grow and grow. Alright, let's close that back up. Let's move on to the big boy. The 125. This tank is by far the most maintenance inclusive tank I have. It gets huge water changes once, sometimes twice a week, always cleaning the filters out, but it's got a very heavy bio load. It's looking a little empty compared to other videos I've shot of this tank because I recently sold a handful of the younger cichlids that were in here. They were just leftovers from when I was breeding a little bit last year, and there's a handful of females in there, so I want to get them out of there. I know some of my haps are female, but that's fine. They're just single species of them in there. There's no males to compete for them. But I do love this tank. These fish are huge. They got a lot of personality. There's the tank boss. He's been a little cranky since I sold the other fish. All his ladies are gone. Here's one of my favorites, the Malawi eye biter. I've heard horror stories about them, so I'm keeping an eye on him. He isn't really mean or nasty to anybody. And he's a big fish. He's about 6.5 inches or so, easily. I bought him when he was 1 inch for $6 at Petco, and he has not let me down. Just such an interesting looking fish. But now that I have some more room in there, I got to fill those stock levels back up to help curb the aggression in here. So now I have an opportunity to get a couple different colors in there and whatnot. It's always exciting to have more room for more fish. Who doesn't like that? All right, let's give them a nice feeding. I know, dinner's my favorite time of the day, too. Video does not do this tank justice. Now you may think that the tank's dirty because I got algae growing back there, but I'm actually trying to do that purposely. I usually don't have the lights on in this tank. It gets some natural light during the day from the window up above here. But they don't really need to have the lights on all the time. There's no plants that are demanding it for photosynthesis. And these guys come from a big-ass lake. And some of them, like the deep water hap, go down pretty deep in that lake. Malawi, I believe, is the 10th largest lake in the world, if I remember correctly. But anyway, the reason for growing algae and turning the lights on a little more to grow algae is I'm trying to use it as a nutrient export. Such a heavy bioload, nitrates do climb up pretty quick in this tank. There's currently 20 cichlids, and I got the 3 catfish in there. So I'm hoping getting some algae to grow on the glass and on the skull and the wood and the rocks will help as a nutrient export. That once it starts growing on the rocks, it actually looks nice and a little more naturalistic. Here's one of the ones I kept from my breeding. A strawberry peacock. Beautiful fish. And let's see if we can find the other one. He's hanging out in the back. There he is. Nope, not you. I believe the mother was a sulfur head and the father was a... shoot, what was he? A Belgium? I can't remember off the top of my head. But the colors look great on them. So yeah, let's move on to the last tank. Okay, so last but certainly not least, Newtonian, the albino axolotl. I think he actually might be a lewistic. He's got the splotching on his gills there, those black marks. So he's not completely albino. So I'll do a little research on that and get back to you guys on it. Now we recently did a video, actually that's probably about 2 months ago now, where we added some plants. We added some bulbitis, Java fern, and Java moss. I moved them around a little bit because light is kind of an ongoing issue with this tank. I got the light pretty high up So the light beams have quite a ways to travel to reach the plants. This bulbitis I ended up having to hack back a whole hell of a lot, and I moved it from over there where it's getting shaded to over here. So hopefully that starts to make a comeback. The one good thing with the lack of light is the axolotl is much more comfortable. They don't like bright light. They like to be hidden. The pothos up top is going insane. I may have to add another light actually at some point up on the ceiling there. Don't mind the calendar. I haven't been keeping up with what month it is. So yeah, let's give him a bloodworm. No, don't eat the moss. This tank is also doing well. Gets its weekly water changes. I don't really have to clean the glass, to be honest, on this one. There is a pretty healthy population of bladder snails in there. Of course, I can't see any right now. Oh, maybe there's one. Yeah, I'm not really seeing any right now. And then there is a large mystery snail in there. Oh, there's the mystery snail. The mystery snail pretty much takes care of algae, dying plant matter, and believe it or not, loves the axolotl poop, which is fine by me. Hey, you know, we all got our preferences, but one thing with this tank is it is kind of hard to videotape because of the glare that I get off of this tank. It is an old tank. I got this tank when I was maybe 14, 15, and it was used then. It was a used tank I bought from a pet store when I bought my first bearded dragon. So this tank's at least 20, 25 years old. So I am going to have to get them into a new tank. Don't mind my dog growling in the background. One of his toys is in a spot he can't get, and he's frustrated. That wraps up the first fish room tour. We got some more projects to do, some rearranging in some of the tanks that we'll document and get together for you guys to view. So thanks for watching. Really appreciate it. And don't forget to be safe out there. We'll catch you on the next one.